very special episode of the Horrific Podcast. A very special Christmas episode.
Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. We are here together live in Oklahoma at Bryce's house.
It's tradition.
On the floor in the back bedroom.
Tradition.
Sarah said that she wasn't going to stop watching TV while we did this.
She actually started turning it up louder.
Yeah. While
we were trying to record.
Yep. Typical. But that tells you everything you need to know about the power dynamics in my relationship.
I'm excited, man.
Yeah.
It's always a good time. Something that we look forward to.
Yeah.
It's, when you clean the house because you have company come over that you don't like, it's even worse. Mm-hmm. But I didn't mind cleaning the house today because I was like, oh,
well, thank you.
Yeah, we got it. And I half-ass cleaned it because of close enough. But
yeah, and you know that I won't judge.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where I feel like you're kind of Mr. Holiday.
I am.
And I feel like as you're getting older, you are getting more dialed into like the holiday traditions.
Right,
I am fully
yeah.
embracing it, and I love that.
Yeah, well, it stems from my parents not doing anything when, or wanting to do anything.
If you didn't know, you are allowed to swear on this podcast.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I had to ask, I'm part owner of this, huh? Yeah, we didn't do shit when I was a kid, and so I decided, and it's the same thing with my brother, kind of, where, they really get into it, but I decided, it's once I have my own house and my own family, I'm going to do this stuff, and, so we do try to do as much Christmas stuff as possible. It's not always the greatest. We went to, out here to Wool Rock, to the Christmas show, and we made my brother and his wife and my mom and my sister and her boyfriend and Katie and my nephew all went. It was fun because we all fit in Brock's Escalade or whatever, I don't know, his Suburban, whatever. And I was having a great time because I was in the front seat, but then we got there and everyone just seemed like they were miserable, and I was like, this is on me. I even pay for everyone to get in and stuff, and I was like,
just try to do something.
We can't even have one nice date. But anyway, but yeah, we did that, and we did lights, and I do a lot of cooking.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and so we've got a lot of stuff on tap for this evening.
Yeah.
But we'll come back to that as we get to the end of this. So anyway, wanted to, before we get started, give a shout out to our brother Donnie, who is not here with us, but who is doing a lot of driving. So he moved to New Jersey recently, but he drove to Kansas for Christmas and then is driving back to
Jersey
really? After. Yeah. So if he's not listening to our entire backlog of podcasts, that's really just on him. I feel like we've provided hours and hours of quality content and entertainment, and if he's not taking advantage of that and he's bored at any point during the drive, it's his fault, not ours.
Well, I was going to feel bad for not knowing that, but I'm the youngest brother of the three, and so I just have trouble keeping up, being explained things. But I would text Donnie, and it's texting my business ideas because he's went to business school, and he laughs at you, and it's I just gave you $1 million idea. Yeah. And he's like, hope to see you around Christmas time. And I say, yeah, dude, come stay with us. And he says, haha, you're so funny. Yeah. And it's I didn't realize that was a joke. Yeah. Me inviting you to stay in my house. Donnie.
Well, my thing is he may laugh at your business ideas, but who has a successful podcast with,
That's true.
Nearly a handful of listeners.
Well, even the listeners don't even know how much. We're the only ones who know how many actual listeners. Yeah. So, for all you guys know, it could be tens of 20s.
But I'm just saying, if either of them are judging us right now, Yeah. But anyway, so for this very special Christmas episode, because this podcast is about horror movies, we thought we might take a little time to take a deep breath and reflect back on Season 6. Yeah. As anyone who is a regular listener knows, we are working our way through Esquire's list of the 50 scariest movies of all time. It has not been a particularly good list, but it has covered a lot of territory. We've watched a lot of movies we hadn't seen before, and we've been exposed to some things that maybe we wouldn't have been otherwise.
Yeah, like M. I don't think we would have seen, like, I don't know if we would have thought of M, or there's a couple other coming on the list that, yeah. And I was thinking about this, about our list and doing the list and how we've been frustrated multiple times with it. But I think it's part of the reason is because we kind of watch we've watched a lot of the good ones already.
That's true.
You know, we've 28 Days Later's on there, Get Out, Strangers, the Strange Black Christmas is on there, and we've done those. So it's like, so the list is all the movies that we haven't actively picked out.
True.
You know, so it's like, yeah, obviously we want to do 28 Days Later, but so we're getting stuck with like Under the Stairs or Under the Skin.
I like that you pretend you don't know.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't read my own fucking handwriting.
But yeah, so the idea for today is that we're going. The episode title will be Highs and Lows of Season 6, and we're going to talk about the high points of things that we saw on the list that we hadn't heard about or maybe hadn't watched otherwise that we had a good experience with. And then we're going to talk about the lowlights and the things that didn't go so well and that we want to caution you about so that you don't accidentally watch a movie that is bad and a waste of time.
Yeah. Agreed.
So, do you want to start high or low?
Let's, do we want to do high, low?
That's kind of what I was thinking.
It's probably going to be the same, I think. Let's start low.
Okay.
Because that's easy.
Yeah.
It's easier. Under the Skin.
Wow. It's almost like you were looking at my list.
Yeah. Under Skin was not my favorite. One of these days, you know, we talked a couple podcasts ago about, like, I would like to revisit movies I didn't like. And this will not be one of them.
Yeah.
So wasn't a fan of it.
What are some things about that movie that made it, I guess, rank so poorly for you? Like, why do you think that was a movie that you just really didn't enjoy?
So I think for me, so there's a couple things into this equation. It was the perfect storm. Early on to the list, before we knew kind of what we were getting ourselves into, so I had that confusion of like, why is this on the scariest movie of all time list? Like I was expecting, so my expectation was high. The movie definitely came in lower. I think it was, I mean, for me, it just wasn't scary. It didn't necessarily make too much sense. It seemed like it was a movie just showing off Scarlett Johansson, you know, and I get it for sure, but it's just like, you know, like I can think of other scary movies that could easily be in the 49th place, and this one's there. So
yeah, I think the pace definitely was a difficult part of it.
Yeah,
this was also one that was based off of a movie or a book.
Yeah,
and neither of us had read the book. And what I was reading about it, I guess from the director's perspective, it was almost like an impressionistic interpretation of the book, like the subjective experience of the main character of the book, which is an interesting idea. And if you had read the book and were super into it, I could see where like that would be an interesting companion piece to the story. But as someone who wasn't familiar with that, coming into it and watching it for the first time and not having like the background or the narrative of the story to tie it to, it was just slow.
Right.
And there was really no sense of like tension. Like you never felt like a sense of danger for anyone. You never felt empathy. You were never on the edge of your seat like, oh no, this person that I care about is about to die. It was just sort of long and boring.
Yeah. I mean, even in his description, he says this stunning thriller is a slow burn, and it's like, well, if you have a thriller,
make up your mind.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and maybe if I watched this under different circumstances, you know, not expecting it to be a scary movie.
Would you call Donnie's drive between New Jersey and Kansas a slow burn?
No, not the way that dude drives.
That's a good point.
He get there 15 minutes. Donnie Hampton, what was it? Donnie Earnhardt Jr.
Donnie Earnhardt Jr. That's what he's called.
Oh goodness, great! You don't follow that guy.
No. You need Google Maps up in your car. Yeah. So I guess Under the Skin was my first low light. Well. So I'll go ahead and do a highlight.
Oh, okay.
And you already spoiled it because it's M.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So M definitely wasn't the scariest movie, but I did enjoy it a lot. Like, I really, and I feel like the more movies that we've watched, and having seen that, I'm now, like, seeing things that it influenced a lot in sort of the future of horror and stuff. And so I think where that movie got off the rails a little bit for me was towards the end, when it tried to be a little bit more like social commentary.
Right.
But that whole, like, chase where they're closing in on the killer and like the whole town is in on it, and so you've got sort of the competing groups, and the criminals are trying to get him before the cops get him, and you're almost starting to feel like an empathetic sort of panic on behalf of the killer, who you don't actually like, but knowing that the criminals are going to get him and treat him, sort of with their own street justice.
Right.
You kind of, in the way that the movie was presented, it has that feeling to it. So I really kind of liked what they did with the inversion of the perspective. Like, you weren't thinking about, I'm a victim. You're thinking from the perspective of the killer as sort of the justice was closing in around him. So
right.
I thought that was great. I also really liked the way that they introduced the sound, like his whistling, to signify that he was nearby, as a sort of directorial device for showing that you should feel a sense of danger for the people on the screen without seeing the danger. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know for sure, but that would have to be totally, or that would have to, you would think it would have to influence Halloween and those movies that have that awesome soundtrack, Jaws. I think for me with them, it confused. It definitely did what it's supposed to, because like you eventually start to feel bad. You almost feel bad for the killer, and then you have to remind yourself, you're like, wait, he's killing like little kids, so screw him. Like
he doesn't come.
Right. But that was definitely great. And like you said, you can definitely see a ton of just the influences that it's done, and over the years, I think it's been pretty great. Mine was pretty easy. I think so I don't have mine in any particular order, I guess, on this, but When a Stranger Calls.
Yeah, that was actually on my list as well.
And I figure both of ours are probably going to be pretty similar since these are. But, with When a Stranger Calls, I mean, that definitely seemed like the start of, like, the whole slasher. Like, you could see the influences on that movie, or from that movie onto, like, Halloween. I'm pretty sure it would have to be Halloween. But just, like, that whole someone in your house, super, super intense, super scary to get that call. I'm in, a house or whatever you said. I'm in your bedroom. But it was also, like, the highlight of that is, like, the first half of the movie. And then, or, like, the whole, like, phone call scene at the beginning. I think that's the scariest part. But it was definitely, like, a surprise for me. I didn't expect going into this movie to enjoy it, and I for sure did.
Well, and I think just the whole idea of, like, the person alone in the house, knowing that there's someone threatening outside, and seeing the camera angles from the outside looking into the house, and kind of that whole thing. Obviously has been a lot of things that were done in that movie have been used just from camera work and sound. And,
Halloween specifically, for sure. Yeah,
it's good stuff.
So you want me to do a low light?
Sure.
Pulse.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
That was a rough one.
Yeah, because that one we did, like, the Japanese and the American version, and it's just, I mean, it was...
They were both bad.
It was, like, the American version was, like, super, super bad.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, Kristen Bell's acting was... I don't want to get talking about acting, but it was... Yeah, I know. She got the weird eyes. Freak you out, man. But I don't. And it's just the whole idea of it, like a computer virus is what is making these people want to kill themselves. And you think, like, well, maybe it's the whole social thing of, like, you spend too much time on. But they couldn't have predicted the way it is now, like how much maybe they were, but everyone is on their phones nowadays. Like this would be more of a relevant time, but it was put together bad. The deaths looked weird. It didn't really make too much sense at the end. It's just
Yeah, and so I watched the Japanese version on that, and it almost like defaulted too far in the other direction, where there was like no coherent narrative. There was no like central storyline that was pushing it along. It was almost, again, almost like impressionistic, where it was just kind of these vignettes of random scenes that you were kind of trying to piece together. So I was not a big fan of that one. But I guess the next one on my list for lowlights was Don't Look Now.
Oh, thank God it's not on my... Oh, yeah.
So, Don't Look Now was about a couple whose kid had passed away, and then they were...
Oh, yeah.
Italy, and she was trying to go to the seance, and anyway, it was convoluted. It was too long, and there was absolutely nothing scary or interesting until the scene where they see the little girl in the red coat, and then the sort of
old lady.
It was just like,
You know what's funny about that is I was watching like an Amoeba, like What's in My Bag from I can't remember what musician, and they were only doing movies. They were because they were a punk guy. They weren't going to do music, I guess, or whatever. And that was one of the movies they picked out. I can't remember who it was. And I was just like, have you seen it before?
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other one on mine is Candyman, or one that I like to highlight.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Candyman, which I was real pleasantly surprised with that. Or I knew what we were kind of getting ourselves into going into it, but yet again, compared to the others, it was compared to what we had been watching.
Yeah,
there was some bad openers. So, but with Candyman, you have like the villain that you see. You have like actual scary scenes, like crawling through the mirrors from apartment to apartment. You had all the bees in the mouth.
Yeah.
It was just intense. But
$1,000 per stain.
Yeah. And you also have like that, almost kind of like with M, where like society. So like in Candyman, you had people like portraying him almost, and they caught them. So it was kind of like the opposite of M, where everyone was coming together. It was like everyone was kind of using, this killing as a reason to attack someone else. So, which is what I said in the podcast was I could see this happening nowadays for copycat murders, kind of thing. But
yeah, you could see where like if there actually was some sort of supernatural killing going on, the way that it would be reported and sensationalized, and then the way that it would get copied would be like a thing for sure. So so I'll do one more highlight, and then we'll do one more low light and be done.
That sounds good.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So my other highlight was actually, and I'm kind of trying to go against the grain a little bit here, but is Jaws. Coming back to that movie and watching it from a more like judging it as both from the way that it was made, but also some of the things that it did, like creating horror scenes, creating scary scenes, building suspense, how it managed the flow of the movie, all of that. I just thought it was awesome, and I don't think I ever have appreciated it as much as now, having done this for a few years, where we watch these movies sort of more critically and think about how they were made and what they were trying to do and the way that it makes you feel. I feel like Jaws aged really well, and it's still a lot better than a lot of movies that have come out recently.
Yeah, I think my thing with Jaws was that I definitely enjoyed it, or enjoyed the movie. I mean, it's a fantastic movie. I just didn't see it scary. The lack of I couldn't relate to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, looking back on it though, I like the idea. Like you were saying, it's basically the Halloween of the ocean in a way. Like you're being tracked, but also it's just stay out of the ocean.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're fine. Yep. So are we on low light?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to put this one on here because it just doesn't belong on the list at all, and that's the witches.
Damn. Okay, I'll come up with another one before you get done. Yeah.
Well, I got gold. God told me to, and Don't Look Now.
No, don't you?
Don't
you?
Well,
we'll come back to that.
It was a children's.
It was
a children's movie.
Yeah.
And so it's this, and I'm pretty sure I said this in the podcast. Like, they should change the name of this to these are my scariest movies of all time. Like you're saying, these are the 50 scariest movies of all time. You put on a movie where two kids turn into a mouse and it ends up being like a cartoon.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like 101 Dalmatians and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory were both better horror movies than The Witches.
Yeah, for sure.
And those aren't horror movies.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm with you on that. But yeah, instead of coming up with another one, I'm just going to address something. God told me to.
Yes.
Don't you call that a lowlight, because that is one of the most influential things of my recent life, okay? I don't remember if I've said it much on the podcast, but we've talked about this. I am currently writing a screenplay called God Told Me TWO.
Yeah.
And I have a soundtrack picked out. I have actors identified that I want. And it's going to be Jeff Goldblum is the lead, is the detective.
I mean,
it's going to be...
Say no more.
It's going to be Steve Buscemi in a wig is his wife.
Yes.
And it's going to be amazing. And it's going to span the entire country, not just one city. And it's going to explore more fully the aliens that came to Earth and the people that they've left and the impact that that has on society. And so this thing is going to blow minds and change lives. And it was all inspired by one movie on this list that neither of us had heard of. And if that's not a highlight, I don't know what is.
I mean, as long as it has the hermaphrodite killer, I'm in.
All right, there's a scene
Hermaphrodite
in Santa Fe in the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum. So,
okay,
get ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to say hermaphrodite?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, that's like a biological term. Yeah.
So, last thing was, I don't have a movie that was like highlight or low light, but Lords of Salem wasn't scary, but like it definitely intrigued me.
Yeah.
A little bit. Like,
it was refreshing.
It was.
After the other movies.
It was definitely refreshing, but it was also like after like kind of reading into it and looking into it and seeing it was almost like a psychedelic horror. Like you see those kind of things. Definitely like weird. And I also watched like an interview with Rob Zombie, where he kind of touches base on it, explains a couple things, like just not specifically to that movie, but just hearing like his ideas, his thought processes and stuff. It seemed really interesting, so I definitely appreciate it a little bit more. But yeah,
nice. So yeah, we still got a little ways to go yet to get through the list, but obviously we're taking this week off because we want you to take a break from everything. Mm-hmm. Enjoy the holiday in whatever way you want to do it. Like whatever.
I mean, we still have
special for you.
Weekly episodes that they can download, though.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you can and get caught up.
Like so we're taking a little break, but you don't know that.
Yeah. Well, we definitely hope that you listen to this and that it's part of your December 25th, whatever that looks like for you, and that you enjoy it and maybe make us a part of your yearly tradition, because we're going to be here for you.
Yeah.
Your family may not, your friends may not, your job may not. Lord knows. Well, there's no telling what the government's going to do.
Look, your wife's cheating on you, man. Just get out of it. Just come back to the podcast.
Hey, or maybe your wife already left. You know who didn't leave?
We didn't.
These guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're there for you. Also, Donnie, if you're out there, I just want to know, what's your favorite part of my body and why?
Yeah. Definitely send us an audio clip and we'll play it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, let's wrap this up because we got stuff to do. You want to tell them what we're doing tonight?
Christmas movies, drinking. The girls are probably gonna fall asleep on the couch again. Mm-hmm. We'll reminisce about the good old days, show some music,
yes,
decorate some cooks. I got a gingerbread house.
Yes.
Eat Chinese food. R.I.P. Ocean China.
Yeah.
Just hang out. Presents.
Yeah.
See, that's how you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about hanging out.
Yep.
I forgot about the presents. We got some presents. But yeah, it's going to be a good time, man.
Yeah.
It's a great time.
And also, I'm mostly excited for the presents for the dogs.
Yeah, I know.
Super excited,
I know.
So.
Well, you got to take hers just with you, though, because my little bitch-ass dogs will try to steal it.
Yeah. Well, I figure that's why we needed another bucket of popcorn.
Yeah.
Because I figured they go through a lot.
Good move.
Because they're partying.
That's a professional move. Yeah.
Well, cool. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, Happy day off of work. Whatever you're doing, enjoy it. Do things that you enjoy with your life. Pause every now and then. Like, life goes by so fast. There's so much going on all the time, and I feel like things get really busy really fast, really easily. Mm-hmm. And it takes effort to make things special.
Yeah.
But life's so much better if you do. So, like, use Bryce as an example. If you feel like it's going to make you happy, then put up 3 Christmas trees.
Right. Yeah. We only did 2.
There's 3.
Oh my God, there is 3.
There is 3.
Son of a gun. Yeah. Yeah. And also, though, it's the holidays. This is a sad time of the year. Just thought I'd tell you. If we don't give you a personal message before now and then, Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Although, next year, 2020, is just going to be just as shitty as this year if you don't get off your ass.
Wow.
Some motivation.
Yeah.
I've been on a 30-year break.
Yeah.
Just recently got off my ass.
Yeah.
Feels good.
Yeah. Working well for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're looking good, too. All right. I'm going to stop this recording so I can tell you which of your body parts I think is Donnie's favorite. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Do you have Stone Cold Steve Austin as your phone back then?
Yes.
Sarah's mine.
Well, Katie was mine until she decided to change hers to her and another. Her and her dad.
Oh.
And then I was like, well, if I'm not going to be it, thinking it'd make her laugh, and then I realized it was just real selfish. Considering the situation, and then I just left it. So it's been about 8 months now. But old Stone Cold, he's slamming 2 beers, just chugging them. Austin 316.
Yeah. For a while, mine was Iggy Pop, but like Iggy Pop now. So he's like real old, but he still has his shirt off. And
yeah,
he
looking
just
good.
Looks rough, like coarse, heavy rough.
But. Yeah.